Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are taking a massive stack of source material and really executing what feels like a profound hack on your greatest asset, your internal reality.
That's a good way to put it.
We are diving into this astonishing idea that your success, your health, your happiness,
Yeah.
they aren't just determined by, external randomness,
Right.
but are directly dictated by the silent, usually invisible world of your thought, your belief, and crucially, your emotion.
Mm-hmm. It's a huge paradigm shift for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Our mission here is to dissect sources that treat the subconscious mind not as some fluffy spiritual mystery,
Yeah, not woo-woo.
not woo-woo at all, but as a sophisticated, powerful, programmable engine. So if you feel like your life is running on outdated software, maybe this deep dive is your guide to installing that upgrade.
I like that, the software upgrade analogy.
And the core concept, really the thing that defines this whole field, and it's a brilliant analogy, honestly, is that the subconscious mind functions exactly like incredibly fertile soil.
Okay. Fertile soil.
And this fertile soil has one key non-negotiable rule. It accepts any seed. It's completely non-judgmental.
No filter.
No filter whatsoever. You can plant seeds of doubt, worry, limitation, or you can plant seeds of health, prosperity, joy. The soil doesn't care. It just processes the input diligently, without exception, and turns those seeds into observable external reality,
Wow.
shaping your body, your relationships, every facet of your life experience. It's fundamental.
What's fascinating there, though, is how much time we spend trying to manipulate external circumstances, pushing things around on the outside.
Trying to force things.
When these sources insist, the true lever of change is always internal. Always. So the goal for you, listening, is to move past simply wishing your life were better.
Which we all do sometimes.
Of course. But to instead grasp the fundamental mechanics of the silent partner. We really need to define precisely how to consciously direct our thoughts, our visualizations, and maybe most crucially, our conviction to program the exact outcomes we desire.
Conviction. That feels key.
It is. And to start that reprogramming, we absolutely must understand its foundational operating system. Which brings us to principle 1. The subconscious never stops working.
Never stops. 24/7.
24/7, 365. It is the control tower managing every function outside of your immediate critical awareness. Think about it, that includes every habit you have, good or bad.
The automatic stuff.
Exactly. The architecture of your emotions, how you react instinctively, and vitally, your basic bodily functions, your heart rate, digestion, hormonal balance, all that complex machinery running without you thinking about it.
It's mind-boggling when you pause on it.
It really is. And this constancy leads to the essential rule of engagement. Whatever you believe deeply, whatever you accept with genuine conviction and emotion,
There's that word again. Conviction.
it will be immediately accepted as true by your subconscious and acted upon. Immediately. Without any critical vetting whatsoever.
So it's not just obedient, it's critically non-critical. It's the ultimate executive assistant, just doing what it thinks you want based on your deepest feelings.
That's a perfect way to phrase it. It takes your deeply held beliefs, even the ones you inherited or completely forgot you had, and simply executes them as policy. It doesn't pause to ask, hey, is this belief actually helping the overall mission here?
Nope. No checks and balances.
It just builds the reality requested by that belief.
Yes.
Scary, but also incredibly empowering once you grasp it.
Okay. All
Oh,
right.
no,
Let's unpack this crucial connection then. Let's transition into the core mechanics. How that initial conscious input, that seed, actually progresses through the system to become, external destiny.
Yeah, the how.
If the subconscious is the soil, we need to understand what constitutes the most powerful fertilizer, maybe, and how that growth process actually translates into real-world results you can see and touch.
Right, and if we zoom out just a bit for context, we land squarely on principle 2. Belief creates reality. This isn't just a catchy phrase in these sources.
No, it's positioned as a law, almost like gravity.
Pretty much, and they're highly specific about the quality of the input required. They state the input mechanism for the subconscious isn't just a fleeting thought like, oh, I wish I were rich.
Doesn't work like that.
Not according to this material. It requires faith and conviction. We really need to clearly define these terms in this context because they're meant to be actionable.
Okay, so what do they mean by faith here?
Faith here isn't necessarily religious, though it can be. It's defined more as the absolute acceptance of the desired idea as present fact. Not future hope, present fact.
Ah, okay, so feeling it is real now.
Exactly. And conviction is the emotional signature. that deep internal feeling of certainty that accompanies the thought. It's the feeling that makes it real inside.
That emotional charge.
Yeah.
Is that what gets it past the conscious mind's skepticism?
Precisely. That emotional charge is what bypasses the critical conscious mind, which, let's face it, typically rejects big new ideas as unrealistic or impossible based on past data.
Right, the inner critic.
Exactly. And this emotional conviction is what initiates the habit loop, the mechanism that turns a single impressed thought into a fully manifested destiny.
Okay, walk us through that loop.
So a thought charged with that deep conviction gets impressed upon the subconscious, like pressing a stamp into wax.
Okay.
When that thought is repeated consistently with that same feeling, it begins to create a powerful groove, you could say, or a neural pathway in the brain.
Like carving a path.
Exactly. That pathway quickly gains momentum with repetition and solidifies into a pattern of predictable reaction, which becomes a habit, an automatic way of thinking, feeling, and even acting.
And habits.
Yeah.
They run our lives mostly.
They really do. And if we follow that chain over time, the accumulation of those internal automated habits, ways of thinking, ways of feeling, ways of perceiving, ultimately shapes your entire destiny.
Wow.
So the profound implication here isn't that destiny is some external fate written in the stars.
No.
No. It's presented as the entirely predictable, logical outcome of the internal, repeated thought patterns you have consistently and often unconsciously fed your subconscious system over years.
That distinction, that conviction, that feeling is the required emotional bypass. That's incredibly important, isn't it? It explains why just thinking positive often fails.
Absolutely. People try to affirm something, I am confident, but deep down the feeling is doubt or fear. And the subconscious, being non-critical about the logic but highly attuned to the feeling,
Only processes the doubt, the stronger signal.
Exactly. It picks up the dominant vibration, the dominant feeling, which is the doubt. So it reinforces the lack of confidence.
Okay. Now let's look at the external result of this whole internal process, which brings us inevitably to Principle 5, something many people have heard of, a law of attraction.
Right. Often simplified, sometimes controversial.
Very. But if the subconscious is meticulously processing your beliefs, and as you said, spitting out reality that matches, then the connection between internal thoughts and feelings and corresponding external experiences seems, well, almost logical in this framework.
It follows, doesn't it? But let's try to look beyond maybe this superficial pop culture definition. The sources suggest it's more of a complex feedback loop than just wishing for a parking spot.
Okay. How so?
If your internal system, your subconscious programming, is consistently generating a positive mindset, and remember, that's built on conviction, faith in the outcome, genuine expectations.
Certainly of it being true.
Yes. Then your subconscious, operating in alignment with that program, literally makes you perceive opportunities differently. You start to notice things that align with that positive frequency, and it influences how you act. You take actions consistent with success or happiness.
So you're tuned differently.
You're tuned differently. The outcomes you then attract, whether you call it luck, coincidence, serendipity, opportunity, they tend to be positive experiences because your whole system is primed for them.
Makes sense. And the flip side.
Conversely, if your internal world is dominated by the persistent program of lack, limitation, anxiety, or, and this is a big one in the sources, chronic resentment.
Resentment keeps coming up.
It does. We'll get more into that. But if that's the dominant program, your subconscious acts on that belief system. You become psychologically and, frankly, emotionally blind to opportunities because they just don't match the internal expectation of things don't work out for me.
You filter them out.
You filter them out or you sabotage them unconsciously. You are essentially broadcasting a frequency of blockage, of not possible, and the external world then appears to deliver obstacles and failures that confirm that belief.
So the mechanism isn't some mystical magnet in the sky necessarily.
Not primarily, according to these texts. It's more about enhanced perception and, crucially, internal action aligned with the ruling belief. Your internal belief system isn't just passive commentary. It's an active director, immediately translating its programmed frequency into real-world results based on the mental broadcasts you consistently send out.
Okay, that active director quality starts to make a lot more sense when we move into Section 2, which dives into the incredible, almost scary physical control the subconscious exerts. We're talking about the mind-body connection and holistic wellness.
Yes, this is where it gets deeply personal.
Right. This moves the conversation beyond just achieving, career goals or finding a parking spot and hits us on the deepest personal level, our fundamental health, our physical bodies.
Exactly. And Principle 4 outlines this profound and increasingly scientifically supported link between our mental state and our physical body. The sources are extremely specific here. They assert this is not merely anecdotal stress management advice, relax more.
It's more direct.
Much more direct. It's presented as a direct physiological consequence. Negative mental states, and they list them explicitly: chronic fear, persistent worry, and deep-seated corrosive resentment.
There it is again, resentment.
It's flagged as particularly toxic. These states are described as capable of creating genuine illness because they effectively hijack the body's essential maintenance and repair systems.
How does that work? Mechanically.
Well, to understand the mechanics, we have to look back at the systems the subconscious controls automatically. When you are feeding the subconscious chronic fear or anxiety, it activates the autonomic nervous system, specifically the sympathetic branch, and the HPA axis, that's the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis.
The stress response system.
Precisely. It puts it in a perpetual state of emergency, that's the flight or fight response. But instead of lasting minutes, it can last days, weeks, years.
Constantly on.
Constantly on. And when that happens, resources, blood flow, energy, hormones are consistently diverted away from long-term projects like healing, tissue repair, proper digestion, and robust immune function.
Because the body thinks it's running from a tiger.
Exactly. It's preparing for an emergency that, in modern life, often never arrives externally. But internally, the alarm bells are ringing constantly. These corrosive programs running nonstop lead to genuine physical breakdowns over time: inflammation, lowered immunity, digestive issues, cardiovascular strain. The list goes on.
So the body is literally receiving a constant command from the subconscious to panic, even when the external environment is objectively safe. It's like an internal sabotage program.
That's a very accurate way to put it. Internal sabotage driven by ingrained belief patterns. But, and this is crucial, the reverse is also presented as equally true, equally mechanical.
Okay, the positive side.
The specific positive states that promote health and healing are identified just as clearly: calmness, love, both giving and feeling, and gratitude.
Gratitude comes up a lot too.
It does. When these states are dominant, when they form the core feeling you inhabit, they create an internal emotional harmony that signals safety to the entire system.
The tiger is gone.
The tiger is gone, the alarm is off. This allows the subconscious to redirect its massive energy resources back where they belong: on optimal function, cellular repair, fighting off pathogens effectively, maintaining balance. It's described as a literal biological reprogramming that determines whether your body's default operating mode is survival under threat or thriving in safety.
That clear mechanical requirement for internal harmony, for safety signals, that leads us directly to what seems like a prerequisite for both physical and external success, which is Principle 6, forgiveness and love.
Yeah.
It often seems a bit misplaced, maybe, in self-help literature that's sometimes focused heavily on wealth or achievement. But the reason it's framed as essential here is purely mechanical, isn't it? Based on how the subconscious processes energy and information.
Absolutely. It's not presented as just a moral nicety. It's operational necessity.
Okay, so the source material is pretty blunt about the consequence of holding grudges, holding on to resentment.
Very blunt. It harms you, the carrier, not necessarily the person you resent.
Right. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
That's the classic analogy, and it fits perfectly here. Resentment is essentially programming your subconscious with a poison program, an emotional seed of conflict, bitterness, attack. It constantly takes up prime real estate in that fertile soil of your subconscious mind.
So it's crowding out the good stuff.
It's crowding out the good stuff, and it's actively attracting more conflict into your life because that's the vibration you're putting out. It drains your vital energy, just maintaining that emotional wall, that state of internal warfare. And fundamentally, it interrupts the internal harmony that the sources say is necessary for true healing or sustained success. You simply cannot broadcast peace, health, and abundance while internally dwelling on war and bitterness. The signals conflict.
The subconscious gets mixed messages. Or rather, it gets the dominant message, which is the resentment.
Precisely, which raises the challenging but really important question. If the subconscious only attracts and creates what you predominantly feel internally, how can it possibly attract abundance or health or harmony when it's being constantly contaminated by the low, harsh vibration of conflict, blame, and revenge?
Yeah, you can't. Logically, within this framework, you can't.
So the solution offered is active forgiveness and willful goodwill. This is framed critically as an act of self-liberation. It's not primarily about benefiting the offender, although that might happen. It's about freeing yourself.
Cleaning your own house.
Cleaning your own internal house. You must consciously, deliberately release the resentment, the bitterness.
How do they suggest doing that? Because it's hard.
It is hard. The sources provide guidance, practical techniques, which we'll touch on later, but the core principle involves, first, recognizing intellectually that the grudge is poisoning your system, your potential, and then actively, consciously replacing the feeling associated with that person or event.
Replacing it with what?
You don't have to suddenly pretend what they did was okay, but you must consciously choose to wish them well or find some sense of peace around it, or at the very least achieve a state of emotional neutrality where it no longer triggers that intense negative charge in you.
Detach the emotion.
Detach the toxic emotion.
Mm-hmm.
This is about cleaning your internal soil so that the subconscious is free to attract and cultivate constructive, harmonious, and successful energy instead of being bogged down by conflict and blockage. It's system maintenance.
Okay, this feels like a good point to shift gears. Now we move into section 3. Active reprogramming. This is the actionable side of this deep dive, right? Moving from the philosophy of why the mind works this way
to the concrete practice of how we consciously and deliberately install new software, using your earlier analogy.
Exactly. Here's where it gets really interesting, I think, because we're looking at the precise tools the sources claim are required for conscious, lasting change, not just wishful thinking.
Great. The how-to. And the two foundational tools for active reprogramming detailed across these sources are Principle 3, autosuggestion and visualization.
Okay, autosuggestion first. What's the core idea?
Autosuggestion is the deliberate, repetitive, and emotionally charged repetition of positive affirmations. Statements about what you want to be, do, or have, stated as if it's already true.
Like, I am confident or I am wealthy.
Exactly. But the key is the repetition and the feeling. It requires persistence because, remember, you're often fighting against years, maybe decades, of established restrictive programs. It's like dripping water on a stone. Consistency is key.
Got it. And visualization. That often gets talked about more, maybe.
It does, and it's often considered the more powerful tool in many of these texts because it engages the entire emotional and sensory system, not just verbal repetition.
How so?
Visualization involves picturing the desired goal vividly in your mind's eye. But here is the absolutely critical distinction the sources hammer home. You must visualize it as already achieved, right now, in the present moment.
Not visualizing getting it, but having it.
Precisely. You are not planting the seed of the future struggle or the journey towards the goal. You are planting the memory of the achieved state directly into the subconscious soil now.
Wow, okay. Planting a memory of something that hasn't happened yet externally.
Yes, because the subconscious doesn't really distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one, especially if the emotion is strong. This immediate acceptance, this feeling of it is done, compels the subconscious to begin working instantly to rearrange your perception, your actions, your opportunities to manifest the external environment that matches the internal reality you just programmed.
The sources give that specific example about health, don't they? Imagining oneself fully healthy.
Yes, feeling the strength, seeing the vibrancy, maybe imagining the doctor giving good news. That this process can actively influence physiological healing. But why is this visualization often considered stronger than just verbally saying, I am healthy over and over?
Good question. Why?
Because the subconscious primarily responds to images and feelings, much more than abstract verbal concepts. Language is the domain of the conscious mind. The subconscious speaks in symbols, pictures, sensations, emotions.
The language of dreams, almost.
Exactly. The intensity and the emotional conviction, the feeling of relief, the joy of the achievement, the sensory details you imagine, that's what gives the command its power. If the feeling behind the visualization is weak or doubtful, the input is likely rejected by that critical factor, that conscious gatekeeper.
But if the feeling is strong, sustained, believable to you internally,
then the subconscious accepts it as a current mandate, a present reality it must work to fulfill or maintain.
That makes perfect sense. Now let's look at Principle 7, which addresses something slightly different, maybe more spiritual for some, or perhaps just a highly focused mental technique: prayer and faith. The sources are extremely clear about the condition for success here, which I think is often misunderstood. Prayer, in this context, only works when it is done with genuine emotional belief, not from a place of desperation.
Yes, that's a crucial distinction they make.
But I think we need to maybe challenge that a little or explore it, because often when people turn to prayer, or intense focused intention for major change, they're in a state of crisis. It feels desperate. If desperation is just another form of fear, and fear is the opposite of faith, how can someone listening truly differentiate between desperate asking, genuine, powerful faith in that critical moment?
That is a vital distinction, and it's subtle but critical. Desperation, by its very nature, focuses on the problem. It's rooted in the lack, the pain, the fear of potential failure.
Right, you're feeling the absence of what you want.
Exactly. So when you pray or focus your intent from a place of desperation, your subconscious hears the underlying fear, the powerful emotion attached to the problem, and it acts on that as the primary mandate. It reinforces the problem state.
Because that's the dominant feeling.
That's the dominant feeling. Genuine faith, as defined in these sources, is the emotional refusal to dwell on the problem, and instead to focus solely with feeling on the absolute certainty of the solution already being present or unfolding.
Shifting focus completely.
Completely shifting the feeling state. The formula for effective prayer or focused intent in this context is therefore pretty clear. You must combine powerful mental images of the solution or the goal already achieved.
The visualization part again?
Yes, with the genuine faith, the deep feeling that the solution is already achieved or actively manifesting now, you are mentally shifting from asking for a future result out of fear of lack to affirming and feeling grateful for a present accepted truth.
It's the gratitude before the evidence arrives.
That's exactly it. Gratitude in advance. That feeling signals completion to the subconscious.
Okay, so people listening need the tools. We have to detail the techniques toolbox, the practical methods the sources provide for daily implementation. These aren't just concepts. They're presented as required daily disciplines, aren't they?
Absolutely. Discipline is key because you're retraining deep-seated patterns. First up, obviously, affirmations. We mentioned them. This is the daily, almost ritualistic repetition of positive statements.
What makes an affirmation effective, according to these sources?
Consistency over intensity, especially at the start. Drip, drip. And the language is crucial. It must be in the present tense, I am, not I will be, or I want to be.
Because I will be affirms future, and I want affirms lack.
Precisely. It has to be expansive, positive, and charged with as much positive emotion as you can muster. The classic, powerful example provided in several sources is Emile Coué's famous line, "Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better."
Why is that one considered so effective?
Because it's universally applicable health, finances, relationships, skills, and it's gentle, allowing the subconscious to define better in the ways most needed, without conscious resistance saying, no, I'm not getting better at X specifically. It bypasses specific objections.
Okay. Second tool, visualization. We've covered its power, but the practice requires what? Just closing your eyes and thinking.
More than thinking. It requires sensory immersion. Don't just see an abstract idea like success. Try to smell the new office, feel the handshake congratulating you, hear the celebratory music, maybe taste the champagne or the special meal. Fabricate a full sensory experience of the attained goal. Make it feel real now.
Got it. Make it visceral. Third, and this one sounds perhaps the most technically fascinating, sleep programming.
Yes, this is highly targeted. The sources explain that the subconscious mind is most receptive, most open to suggestion right before you fall asleep and immediately upon waking up.
Why those times specifically?
Because you're entering or leaving the hypnagogic before sleep and hypnopompic upon waking states. During these transitions, the critical factor, that conscious barrier, the analytical mind that usually judges and rejects new positive ideas that conflict with current reality, is lowered. It's naturally drowsy, less active.
So you can sneak things past the guard dog.
That's the idea. You should intentionally feed your mind positive, focused thoughts, affirmations, or peaceful visualizations during this period. You are effectively planting the new programming directly into the subconscious while the conscious gatekeeper is half asleep. Very strategic.
Okay. Fourth technique, forgiveness practice. We talked about the why, but what's the how?
It's framed not as a passive sentiment, oh, I forgive them, but as an active mental exercise. It requires setting aside time, maybe daily at first if the resentment is strong, to deliberately release that negative charge.
Just decide to release it.
The sources often describe a technique where you consciously bring the person or situation to mind, acknowledge the hurt perhaps, but then actively, intentionally replace the feeling of anger or bitterness with intentional thoughts of love, peace, or goodwill directed towards them, or at least neutrality.
Wishing them well, even if you don't feel like it initially.
Yes. It's an exercise in mental detox and emotional hygiene. You're cleaning the soil to make space for constructive seeds. It gets easier with practice as the emotional charge lessens.
And the final tool in this box.
And finally, gratitude. Again, the source mandates regular practice, but frames it not just as a moral requirement or being nice, but as essential cognitive hygiene, maintenance for a positive mindset.
How does that work?
You must regularly, consciously thank the subconscious, your silent partner, the universe, life, whatever framing works for you, for working for your good, and crucially, thank it even for things you haven't yet received but intend to.
Gratitude in advance again.
Exactly. This practice reinforces the positive feedback loop. It validates the belief that good things are coming, that the system is cooperative and attracting positive outcomes, which encourages it, programs it to continue doing just that. It builds faith.
Okay, let's dedicate this final section, section 4, to a very specific application that really permeates these sources and is, let's be honest, highly relevant to many listeners. Principle 8, wealth and success.
A big focus area.
Here, abundance isn't treated as just luck or external factors. It's framed entirely as an internal mindset first. And the sources offer specific pathways or prerequisites for achieving it.
That's right. The absolute starting point, the non-negotiable foundation for achieving financial prosperity, according to this material, is the cultivation of a prosperous mindset.
What does that actually mean, though? A prosperous mindset?
It means you cannot effectively attract, hold, or expand wealth if the very foundation of your internal thought structure, your core beliefs, are rooted in poverty consciousness, scarcity thinking, or feelings of inadequacy. It just won't stick.
The internal program conflicts with the goal.
Exactly. The sources define the primary mental barrier to wealth, not as external factors like the economy or lack of opportunity, though those exist, but as the persistent presence of thoughts and feelings of lack and limitation held within the subconscious mind.
So those internal beliefs are the real ceiling.
They're presented as the primary ceiling. Because the subconscious, operating like that fertile, non-judgmental soil, will take those seeds of lack thoughts like, I never have enough, making money is hard, I'm not smart enough, rich people are greedy, whatever the limiting belief is. And it will diligently produce scarcity, struggle, or limitation in your physical reality. It views its mandate as maintaining the status quo of not enough, because that is the deeply felt program it was handed.
So what's the required action then? How do you reprogram that?
The required action is essentially twofold, based on the principles we've discussed. First, actively, consistently affirming abundance, replacing the lack thoughts. And second, fostering a sense of inner creativity and value.
Okay, explain that creativity part.
You must shift your internal focus away from the scarcity model. There's not enough to go around, I need to get my piece, to the creative model. I have infinite resources within my own mind, and my mind is a limitless source of ideas that generate value for others and consequently for myself.
So focus on giving value, not just getting money.
That's a key emphasis. It requires more than just visualizing a big bank account number, which can feel abstract. The sources often suggest focusing on visualizing yourself, creating tremendous value, or providing exceptional service for others. Wealth, in this context, is often seen as the natural, inevitable byproduct of that creative service and value exchange, not merely a lump sum of currency you're trying to magically attract.
That's a really key distinction, isn't it? People visualize the end result, money,
Right.
which is often an abstract concept the subconscious maybe struggles to connect with emotionally,
Right.
rather than visualizing the process of generating wealth, which involves creativity, service, solving problems, taking inspired action, things the subconscious can perhaps engage with more tangibly.
Exactly. And we connect this principle 8 directly back to that core fertile soil analogy. If your mind, your soil, is persistently focused on limitation and lack,
That's what grows.
that's what grows. The reality produced will reflect that limitation. It might even prevent you from seeing or recognizing the opportunities required to generate tangible wealth when they appear. Or you'll subconsciously sabotage them.
Because the program says lack, so even when opportunities pass by, you might feel unworthy, or your mind will unconsciously manufacture obstacles or delays to ensure you conform to the internal programming of scarcity. It maintains consistency.
Precisely. So the prosperous mindset isn't just positive thinking about money. It's about recognizing the limitless creative resources within the mind itself. That creative capacity is what generates the ideas, the solutions, the confidence, and the necessary action required to manifest tangible wealth and success. The moment you truly feel and believe that your mind is a source of limitless creativity and value, you effectively remove the scarcity barrier internally. So maybe to bring all these deep threads together now, Let's summarize the overall takeaway for you, the listener, from this whole deep dive. Your subconscious mind is truly this non-critical, incredibly powerful, obedient, silent partner
Partner's a good word.
that meticulously shapes your reality, moment by moment, based entirely on the programming you provide it through your dominant thoughts, your core convictions, and your prevailing feelings. And remember, it is ceaselessly active. It never rests.
Always on. Always recording. Always executing.
Always. Therefore, the mandate from these sources is crystal clear. You must stop leaving your inner life to chance or to old, unexamined programming. You must actively and consistently align your conscious thoughts, your visualizations, your affirmations, your feelings, and your faith with what you truly desire.
Be specific.
Be specific and feel it. Whether that is vibrant physical health, overwhelming wealth and abundance, profound inner peace, loving relationships, or success in a specific endeavor, this conscious and convicted alignment, this inner work, that is the necessary activation mechanism. That's what brings the entire immense power of your subconscious fully online to actively bring those desired things into your life.
So what does this all mean for you right now, listening to this? It means, hopefully, that you've just absorbed not just the foundational principles, but also the practical techniques to begin consciously directing the greatest, most powerful machine you own, your own mind. You've hopefully moved past mere motivation or abstract ideas and into the actionable mechanics of how your mind operates. The knowledge of how your deepest beliefs translate into your destiny. Well, that instantly hands you the keys to more conscious living, doesn't it?
It really does. It shifts responsibility, but also power back to you. And this leaves us with a final provocative thought to maybe sit with, based directly on the source material's insistence on the ruthless, non-stop efficiency and non-critical nature of the subconscious. If it truly accepts as immediate fact whatever you deeply believe, whatever you feel with conviction, this raises a really important, maybe slightly uncomfortable, but necessary question.
Okay.
What current unexamined core beliefs might you be holding on to right now? Beliefs perhaps inherited from childhood, absorbed during past traumas or disappointments, or simply developed through years of unconscious habit that are quietly, relentlessly shaping your reality toward conflict or lack or illness completely without your conscious permission or even your current awareness.
Wow. What's running in the background unnoticed?
Exactly. Identifying that hidden seed, that outdated piece of code. That might just be the first crucial step toward true liberation and reclaiming full conscious control over the reality you experience.
Fantastic food for thought. A lot to chew on there. Thank you for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.
We'll catch you next time on The Deep Dive.